Anyway, I'm not exactly sure about this, but basically, the 16-year-old queen originally thought that she was going to be with me or something like that, with the Lucifer, and that's why she wanted to be the queen or something. Or I don't really know exactly the details of it all, but then she gets put with this stuffy old or stuffy guy or stuffy old guy or something like that. I don't really know. She was 16. He was a lot older. And basically, he wanted a new wife or something. I don't really know, or he might have even. Anyway, I don't really know. But basically, she was 16. He was like 40 or something like that. Like I said, there's been like 8 queens of England or 4 queens of England. It goes back a long ways. So anyway, when the new queen came along, when the current queen that's old right now came along, and she's not the original queen. They were trying to keep it in the family, and then I let them. England wanted to get this other girl to be queen, and that's something that they hide as well. Is how the queen was one family or one. Well, at first they were different women. The queen was always picked. She was like the Miss Queen of England or whatever. So there was no royalty involved, and she just worked for me, selling dishes and basically speaking to people on my behalf. And they all did a very good job of speaking and getting people, and they were like, when they got to about 50 years old, they would retire basically, and then a new queen would be picked, and then like one queen tried to keep it or kept it or something like that, and then we get to the current queen, and basically what happened was the council, Miss Thatcher wanted to become Queen of England and wanted to take power basically, and wanted to kick out the old queen that is old now. And Miss Thatcher or whatever, she was on the council or whatever, and basically she wanted to kick her out and be queen herself. And it's like, no, you're a council member. You're not a queen. You just manage the country. You don't do this. And then I found out about other stuff where, like, of the 12 people or so that were in charge of Germany as on the board council of Germany, or not Germany, I mean of Britain, basically one guy was having an army go do this, another guy was having an army go do that, and another guy was having the army go do something in Guatemala or something like that. And when you find out what these armies are doing, they're basically taking over shit and stealing shit, saying it's for England, but it's not. And they're just getting paid from these companies that they take over using their army of England. So I was like, that's it. And I just said, all right, no. The Queen of England is the Queen of England, and she is in command and in charge, and she has all full control. Around like 1970 or so, I'm like, the board doesn't have any control. That's it. You don't have control of the army. You don't have anything to do with England. You just mess around with the laws, and not even that much. So me and the Council of England basically went, because it was like, it's my country. They're my people. Those are my factories, and you're not doing this anyway. And so I basically just switched all the power over to the Queen, because before I didn't even know the board was like having the armies of England do things. When I found that out, another thing like her, like the son or whatever, who really isn't even her son. It's actually Prince Charles or whatever. That's not even her son. That's actually the father's son, which got killed or died or whatever. And he was like this old guy that just married this 16-year-old, or I don't really know. It gets complicated. At the time she was 16, he was old, and he eventually, I don't know. I forget what the deal is, but one of them wasn't actually blood relations or something. There's something weird, but I mean, I might be getting my queens confused. But anyway, and he supposedly is running off with one of the royal ships, and letting his friends do shit or something. I don't really know. There's allegations of that. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. No. That's enough. No, the Queen has control. She is basically like your president. She is your leader and number one, and the armies don't listen to anyone else. the armies will talk to her and do everything. And I basically gave all the power to the queen, like, because, I find out that, these council members, they don't give a fuck. They're using their armies to take over. They're using their military armies to go hack computers, to go take over companies, to get money for themselves. And I'm like, well, for one thing, those are my companies you're probably stealing. And that's not going into my pocket. And it's not going into the people's pocket. Or helping out Germany, or helping out England in any kind of way. No, you're selling those products in those countries, and you're just making the money and bringing it into your pocket. And they're doing like this money laundering scheme. And you find out that Miss Thatcher and the other England's board is corrupt as fuck. And that's the truth behind that. And I'm like, and that's another reason why they want me dead. Because I find this out and people will know this. But they're doing this whole top secret for the protection of the people. Just like America. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So basically, you're basically just sticking it to the people? And you're basically just stealing my companies and stealing and pretty much just blowing British money right and left? Like, what makes you different than the IRA? Or any Joe Bloke that just like... What makes you different than a common criminal? Like, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so, like, I was just like, wow. Wow. How far the great England has fallen. So anyway, probably part of the whole JFK, Nixon, bull, whatever stuff, where basically the whole world went, and probably Zimbabwe was like, on the backside of that to try and, because Zimbabwe was absolutely nuts. The one guy was absolutely psycho. Like, he would shoot, my people would tell me, he would shoot like 5 people in a row. And these are trusted, good people that he has known for years. And he would be like, I'll show you about how blah, blah, blah. His people just knew that at any moment that they could die. And it's like, well, you have a nice car, you live for a short time, and then he shoots you in the head when you're about 25 or so. Just to show his domination. Or whatever like that. He was a stock raving lunatic, my people told me. And so... And it's like Zimbabwe, South Africa, North Africa, and they're all just stock raving lunatics over there that just came to power by basically gun power. And it's like, well, what makes you different than half the Southwest? Like Mr. Black in power? Like, what makes you different than half of the Midwest of America? Not much. Not much at all. I mean, in fact, the Southwest at some point in time, I think, was like, hey, let's go take over a country. We'll be doing the world a favor. And basically, I think they went down there, they started shooting them, and Zimbabwe was like, no, they're terrorists. Oh. It's like, you mean, they're just taking care, and they were mostly just taking care of the people that Zimbabwe's own people were going out, because their own people were going out and killing people like crazy. And so the Southwest, or some states, just went over there and just started cleaning up their country for them. Because these people were running around with guns killing people like crazy. And these other people were also killing other people like crazy. So, like, some white boys, basically good old folk, went down there and just started cleaning up. And it's like... And then Zimbabwe got scared because, like, Zimbabwe, they really do have mass graves. And, like, they use them all the time. So... and because basically Zimbabwe and North Africa, South Africa, those are stock raving lunatics, and that's why even the British can't even live there. Because there's no control, and in fact, the people in power are basically just the money, and basically saying, sit on it. And that's basically South Africa, Zimbabwe, North Africa, in a nutshell. So... Anyway, and I think some Southwestern went down there and started cleaning up the place and making money off of it.